Walk into most any synagogue in America, and at the beginning of the Torah service, as the ark is being opened, you'll probably hear something like this. Ki Mitsiyon tetzei Torah. Where does it come from? Well, contrary to popular belief, these melodies were not handed down to Moses on Mount Sinai. They came to us from 19th century Vienna, from the pen of the great cantor Salomon Sulzer at the beautiful Seitenstättengasse temple. Sulzer began his cantorial career at the age of 16 in his hometown of Hohenems in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In 1826, he traveled east to the great city of Vienna, where the Jewish community had just built a beautiful new synagogue. It's still standing today. Sulzer was appointed chief cantor and was tasked to create a musical service that would appeal to both traditionalists and modern Jews. Sulzer wrote in his diary,
I encountered chaos when I arrived in Vienna, and I was unable to discover any logic in this maze of opposing opinions. Jewish liturgy must satisfy the musical demands while remaining Jewish, and it should not be necessary to sacrifice the Jewish characteristics to artistic forms. Our enterprise was visibly blessed by the Lord. It found favor with the most intelligent Jewish communities, recognition and emulation throughout the world. The Vienna ritual became a model and standard. Our melodies were kindly received and recognized even beyond the ocean.
Not a particularly modest man. But he was praised by his contemporaries, even by non-Jews who flocked to the synagogue to hear this great cantor. Franz Liszt was perhaps the most famous musician of his time, a rock star pianist and composer. He wrote,
In Vienna we visited the famous tenor Sulzer, who served in the capacity of cantor in the synagogue, and whose reputation is so outstanding. Seldom were we so deeply stirred by emotion as on that evening, so shaken that our soul was entirely given to meditation and to participation in the service.
Edward Hanslick, the most respected music critic in Vienna at the time, wrote,
Even today no foreign musician leaves Vienna without having listened to the celebrated Cantor. It was Sulzer who restored order, dignity and lofty aesthetic form in the musical liturgy of Judaism.
And the famous British novelist Francis Trollope wrote,
There is in truth so wild and strange a harmony in the songs of Israel as performed in the synagogue in this city, that it would be difficult to render full justice to the splendid excellence of the performance, without falling into the language of enthusiasm. About a dozen voices or more, some of them being boys, fill up the glorious chorus.
Of course, there were no recordings in those days, so we can't hear what Sulzer's voice sounded like. But he did leave behind several volumes of his compositions, which were published in 1840 and 1865. Some of Sulzer's compositions were so beloved by his congregation that the worshippers started to sing along. And some of Sulzer's melodies, without the choir and without the organ, became so widespread beyond Vienna and beyond the 19th century that many Jews assumed they were quite ancient and anonymous. For example, Sulzer composed this music, which was sung by his choir. The congregation started to sing along with the choir. Ki Mitsiyon tetzei Torah. Then they sang the next lines to the same melody. Shema Yisrael and Echad Eloheinu. Yep, that's where those tunes come from. Let's listen to Sulzer's original music for the opening and the closing of the Torah service.